John Wick 4, shooty shooty, bang bang. Welcome back to Val Verde Broadcasting. I'm Duncan Casey, and to my left, to my right, isn't Richard Jackson. It's just me today, folks. Sorry about that. You've just got the one. But I just got back from seeing John Wick 4, and I thought I would give you my thoughts now. We're going to be talking non-spoilers to begin with, and then I'm going to go right into spoilers after that. So I'm going to put a timestamp in the description below. Go check that out. If you've seen the film and you just want to skip straight to the spoiler discussion, go check that out. If you haven't seen the film and you don't want to hear spoilers, that's your line in the sand. Get out! So here we are, John Wick Chapter 4. Wow, I just got back from seeing it. I thought John Wick Chapter 4 was a terrible, terrible film. Is something you won't hear me say in this review, apart from just then for dramatic effect. No, I thought it was absolutely fantastic. I think it's one of those things. John Wick's always been that thing where it's a simple premise done well. It's not trying to reinvent the wheel particularly, only in its style and its execution. Absolutely one of the greatest action films ever made, and I really stand by that. I think Mission Impossible Fallout was in a similar category for different reasons, and that featured a chase around the Arc de Triomphe. Maybe that's what makes great action, I don't know, but it really was hands down a very, very well put together, engaging, well paced action film, and I actually think it was certainly better than the last one. John Wick's 2 and 3 sort of blur together a little bit for me. Those are the ones I've kind of... The first one's very distinctive, and I remember that very clearly, but the second and third ones I sort of get mixed up with what happened in which. So I'm not a Wickophile? Is that a word? Not to be confused with the insides of candles. I remember the third John Wick being kind of a bit previsy, a bit kind of, you know, when you knew when you were watching there were quite a lot of choreographed fight scenes. In this one, it flows much better, I felt. I think it just has the fight scenes and the action. You know they're coming. It's a John Wick film, but they're so well integrated with the plot and everything like that. The plot is so well judged. It's still very simple. It's still go here, kill that person, redeem yourself somehow, kind of thing. But it was so well handled. It didn't feel formulaic at all. So the plot then. The plot. Don't worry, no spoilers yet, but the plot I thought was... they're just really good with these films at keeping it simple, but the execution of it's all about the execution. I thought the plot worked fine. The plot was perfectly serviceable. It's John Wick. John Wick needs to do a thing and kill lots of people. That's it. You don't need more than that. And I think a lot of productions get tied up in knots trying to reinvent the wheel on that. And quite often, obviously, they start production without a script finished. So they're making it up on the hoof. Cinematography. This is something I was really, really interested in with this film. The cinematography in this film is on point. It's unbelievably good for what it is. You know, for the type of film it is. It's got a real comic book sensibility. A lot of the frames are like panels, comic book panels. They're very stark. Richard would have all the vocab for this. I don't. But there's, I think, is it Kurosawa biting? He's going to kill me for this. There's shots of sunlight coming through blinds, like slats, and people silhouetted a lot. Sunrise and sort of golden hour time is very prevalent throughout. There's a lot of tungsten, there's a lot of blue, it's very high contrast. People's faces are often split between blue and orange. It was just beautiful to look at. It's such a well-made film. But at no point did it feel pretentious or like that was getting ahead of the story that they were trying to tell or the action or any of that stuff. It is by no means an art house film. You know, they're not trying to... They have no pretensions of that. It was just incredible to look at. A very, very cinematic film. The cast is it's very hard to sort of pick an MVP for this one. I thought Keanu's Keanu, right? He's on top form. He's still doing his John Wick thing. I think he injected it with a little bit more fatigue, but I think that's the point. I thought he did an absolute blinding job. You know, he says very few words, but you know, it's yeah and all that. but you feel what he's going through, and it's a very visceral performance. Certainly the physicality of it. He's getting thrown about into cars downstairs, and you feel every crunch. Lawrence Fishburne, he opens the film with a sort of poem, and it's really, really good. You know, if you that guy, you know, it's a cliche, but he could read the phone book and it would be fascinating. He's amazing. You've got, of course, Clancy Brown. Clancy Brown is always amazing, and he was fantastic in this. Ian McShane and his Nashers, you'll know what I mean if you've seen the film, was fantastic as Winston, a name very close to my heart because my dog's called Winston. Lance Reddick, the late great. I mean, no spoilers obviously in this section, but he of course brings it as he always does. Bill Skarsgård or Skarsgård. Bill Skarsgård was enigmatic, evil, brilliant. Like, he's someone who I think the you know, having done something like It, this film, I think he's someone who makes very interesting choices, and it will be fascinating to see where his career goes, because I think, you know, I'm very, very envious of his career, but I just think he's brilliant. He was wonderful in this, sort of awful, towering, marquee, evil guy. Brilliant. Donnie Yen was amazing in this. Donnie Yen has that innate ability. He straddles the line. The martial arts is effortless for him. He always seems like that's why he's so good. I mean, he's played a blind man twice now, or more. I don't know. Is he blind in other stuff? I'm not sure. But obviously, Star Wars and in this, and he's just brilliant. He knows every beat to hit. He's got comedy timing for days. He plays the heartfelt stuff really well. Amazing performance from Donnie Yen. I'm skipping through, sorry, but I've got to get through everyone, or as many people as I can. Yeah, all absolutely incredible. And of course, Scott Adkins is killer. I was really excited to see his stuff. I know Scott a bit. I've worked with him a few times, and I think he's great. I think he's amazing, and it was really, really great to see him in something so huge on the big screen, and I thought he blew me away. I mean, you know, I know I'm biased, but he was fantastic. His character's menacing, hilarious, like grotesque, just brilliant, absolutely brilliant. And that whole sequence that he's in is just, again, beautifully shot, well choreographed. Yeah, amazing stuff. So, would I recommend this? Before I get into spoilers, would I recommend John Wick 4 to you? Yes, I would. If you're a John Wick fan, then it's a no-brainer. I mean, this is up there with I would say this is up there with parts 1 to, I mean, part 3, I really enjoy all of them. I think part 3 for me is the one that just felt a bit too, like the fight scenes went on a bit too long, and I got a bit of fatigue with those, but I still love it. I still have a good time with it. So I don't think there's a dud among them. I mean, I don't think there's another film series in history, is there, that's managed to go 4 films and not one of them be terrible, or not one of them drop the ball. I mean, it really, really, I cannot emphasize this enough. John Wick Chapter 4 is up there with John Wick's chapters 1, 2, 3, 4. This is why they perhaps sort of blend into one for me sometimes, but it's just so good. It's just a beautifully made film. Go see it. If you're at all wondering if you want to see it and you get the chance, go and see it. See it in the cinema. It's a very cinematic film. Check it out. Okay, we're going to talk spoilers very quickly. You've been warned. There will be a time code down below, so blah, 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 blah. If you don't want to hear spoilers, go away. If you don't want to hear spoilers, leave now. Okay. Spoiler town. The plot is John Wick done a bad thing. We all knew that. He done a kill on company property in the hotel. Don't know why I'm doing that. accent. We all know what happened. The High Table is after him. He's being hunted. He was hunted last time. You know, it feels like we're kind of back to that, but this is about his redemption. So we open on, obviously, in the previous film, he got shot off the roof and ended up with, is he the king? He's the Bowery King, that's right. Lawrence Fishburne's character. He ends up, you know, with them recuperating. So we open, and you know, again, very thematic. We've got sun rising. Everything happens at sunrise in this film. The end, the climactic duel happens at sunrise. And there's a lot of that. There's a lot of heavy orange streaming through windows throughout the whole thing, which is just beautiful. So, you know, John Wick, he's preparing to go take on the High Table. That's pretty much what this film is. Obviously, there's ins and outs of how he's going to do it. He has to become part of a family again in order to get his ticket back that was torn up in the last one, I think it was. And belong to someone so that he can challenge this Marquis to a duel, who at the start of the film kills Charon. I'm just going to call him Lance Reddick. Lance Reddick dies in this, and obviously it's incredibly sad because he died in real life as well. But he's killed right at the top, and the Winston is stripped of his title, and the hotel is blown up. And so it's a story that he's trying to get back. You know, he's trying to redeem himself as well, as much as John. He's in the same boat as John. And John is traveling around the world, killing people fairly sort of nonchalantly. I think that's, you know, when we meet him, he's in the desert and he shoots a guy, and it's kind of a bit, you sort of, there are a few moments in this film where you kind of go, yeah, why are you doing this? And I think that's deliberate. I think he sort of feels that way as well. And he starts to, there's a lot, all the points along the way where he's meeting people who are ending up dying for him and that kind of thing. I think he's really starting to question why he's doing it, which is a really nice sort of character beat to play. It's not too heavy-handed, but it's there, and I think that's, he's starting to doubt himself. So he goes on his journey to do that, and he goes to Paris. He goes back to New York, goes to Paris, goes to Berlin. He has to kill Scott Adkins, so they have a really great punch-up, which is really cool, and Scott is in a big fat suit, which is hilarious. There's a lot of, again, as with the first film, there's a lot of people falling off things or into things in a really, really horrific way, like in a really, really, like, people smacking the ground hard. And so obviously he kills Killer, takes the trophy, and then takes the proof of death, and he's brought into the family, and he can challenge the Marquis to a duel. And then thus ensues carnage. He's got to they arrange to have this duel, but it's all a bit underhanded. There's a big bounty on John Wick's head, so even just in trying to get to the duel, he's, you know, being chased and harassed, and, you know, he literally has to climb 250 steps to get to the top, and he keeps getting knocked down. It's really, really, really cool. There's an amazing car chase around the Arc de Triomphe, which you've probably seen in all the promo, which Keanu Reeves did himself. He did a lot of the driving himself, and it looks amazing. There's not much really to talk about in terms of the plot. You know, and Donnie Yen's character, what is Donnie Yen? Kane is with John kind of throughout, but Kane has been nominated to kill him, and there's so many times in this where you've got people who've been told to kill John Wick who don't, or who ally with him eventually, but they're in this tussle between, we're bounty hunters, we're assassins. So that was really nice. Donnie Yen ends up, they end up having to have a duel, but they're smart, obviously, and on the last, it's basically they have to fire 10 paces in, fire 10 paces in until someone's dead. And on the last one, John lets himself get shot, so the Marcus thinks he's down, so he goes, right, I'm going to take over, goes to kill him, and he didn't even fire, so he still has a shot, and he shoots him. It's really cool. But then John Wick dies dead at the end, which is, or does he? I mean, it's one of those, like, he sort of slumps down on the steps and thinks about his wife. Well, that happened at the start of the first one. We thought he was dead, and then he gets back up and carries on. But this one does end on his grave next to his wife's. But just the way the film's put together, it doesn't. You can tell they're sort of pulling that punch a bit. And so I think the plan is probably to do a part 5, and he'll be alive, and it'll be resurrection will be the theme, right? And it'll be Winston's probably going to get killed, or someone he cares about is going to get killed, and he's going to come back for revenge. That seems obvious. It doesn't really matter. I think when we get into these things, sometimes it's a bit kind of, when we worry about the storytelling of it all, it's kind of like, well, it doesn't matter. The point is, we want to see John Wick do his thing, and he does, and it's brilliant. There's a fight in a house, like a kind of abandoned house, where the camera goes like bird's eye, and it's just literally following him around all these rooms, and he's got these, what are they called, dragon breath shotgun shells, or whatever. They're like incendiary shotgun shells, and it just looks insane. And it's all one, of course it's the one take, so we're going around, and it just looks incredible. I guess it looks a bit like a video game, but it's just, they are so good at coming up with new ways to just dazzle an audience and put them in a position that is just so interesting to be in, and to watch all this stuff go on. Long gone are the sort of shaky cams and all that kind of stuff. And it's just brilliant. What can I say? What more can I say? It's John Wick Chapter 4. I really, really, really suggest you guys go and check it out. There's not much else to say, really. John Wick is John Wick. This is through and through a John Wick film. Where it reinvents itself in areas, it does it really well, and it certainly doesn't mess with the formula, nor would you want it to. The formula, such as it is, I mean, I don't think, John Wick's always been a revenge story. There's some neat little callbacks to the first film. That sort of stuff is really, really nicely done. It's just brilliant. Go see it. I don't know. What do you want from me? No, it's one of those things where you just feel like everyone has put the time in, the work, the effort, and it's on screen and you see it. What more can I say? It's the peak. It's the peak of action cinema so far. I think it feels like an apex. I don't know where you go from here, but I'm sure they'll find something to do. Bring on Mission Impossible 8? Whatever it is. Thank you very much for sticking around, listening to my rambling review of John Wick 4. Really enjoyed it. I hope you enjoy it, or have enjoyed it. If you have, or have not even, truck us a comment below. Let us know what you thought. We love chatting to you guys. We love hearing what you think. That's not me just sort of trying to get you to tickle the algorithms. It's genuine. Would love to know your thoughts. We'll be back for some more Val Verde broadcasting. Stay tuned, and goodbye.